And welcome once again to the Liberty Lounge podcast. I'm Johnny B. On my left is Jared of Guns and Gadgets. And out there in California is Anthony, the Arms Scholar. However y'all found us, we're glad you did. Get yourself subscribed, whether you're watching on Apple Tunes or
Spotify.
Did I say
Spotify?
However you found us, whether it's on Apple Tunes or iSpotify, we're glad that you did. All right, a lot going on, of course. This is our first real episode to get us guys to get back together because last week we had the week off, and now we're back together since the nonsense and tragedy and horrific stuff. Everybody is well up to date on it today, and we haven't talked about this yet. I want to talk to you guys, or at least open with, because I think it's made me think. Here in Johnson City, Tennessee, we're good to go. Anthony's good to go out there on the West Coast as far as that hurricane. But it makes me stop and think. People are out of power for 4, 5, maybe 6 months coming. Jared, what's something, and Anthony, I'll ask you the same question. What's something you got wrong? Because I've already got a couple mistakes I've made. When I see my brothers, and you and I have both been down there, we see people that are bang. We're not talking about like the worst day where your house is gone and your dogs are gone, but there's a lot of people that live just outside of the war zone, no power. They're having to hike in and out of the house. What have you got wrong?
I've put off buying my generator for far too long. It's the sticker shock issue, but I don't care anymore. I'll finance it if I have to.
I almost got one yesterday on Amazon Prime Day. I know we're not supposed to shop on Amazon.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I'm talking the big Generac for the house.
The big one.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right. Do a buy once, cry once. But I've been waiting too long. I've been waiting years to do it, and I'm just gonna finally do it now.
Anthony, what'd you get wrong? What do you got wrong out there?
Same generator. I think that is what you're seeing a lot of people get hit with. Also over here, just better food supplies, all that stuff, because you don't really know how long, some of that stuff is going to happen. And you guys are seeing it more directly. I know, Jared, you took some photos of like the grocery stores near you just completely cleaned out. A lot of that too was people buying stuff to help other people in other, cities and areas. But I know we are in the group chat too. I told you guys, even here in California, people were freaking out because of the port strikes and the hurricane, and all the water in Costco was gone, all the toilet paper in Costco. And this is in California.
You guys know you have your own ports on the West Coast?
Yeah, I know. People are crazy. It's hilarious too. The toilet paper is the first thing to always go. But just being a little bit more aware of, how quick things can change. And then even just now watching videos with the new hurricane coming to Florida, seeing people talk about how long it's going to take them to get out if they want to evacuate, and gas and all that stuff, and them not having enough gas cans and not having, filled gas preemptively, a while before. And now everybody's trying to get gas so they can leave. So there's a lot of that stuff. It's a big wake up call, kind of like Johnny said.
I think it is. And I think if we, of course, we got to get water and food out to people. There's people out on boats trying to save people. People died trying to save people during the big one. And people know these stories at this point. But if we're not doing our job as men, if we don't stop and assess what did we get wrong and pay attention to what's gone out there. To Anthony's point about gas, I went, frick, I've wanted to do it forever. And when the kids were smaller and they were both in braces and glasses in private school, didn't have a lot of disposable income. And I never bought good gas cans. I've got lots of plastic gas cans. I went and ordered the good Jerry cans, the NATO cans, and I got them in olive drab. They look fantastic, and it's kind of cool. And so, how the guys will say, get a gun that's cool because you'll practice with it. Get cool. Get the cool generator. Get the cool, like anything that you need. Get the good one. Like it may not be visually cool, but it may have like a little more horsepower or something that like turns your knobs. For me, it's so funny. Both of y'all said generator. That was my big one. Is I moved into a new house in February. It's got a well, and I never got a generator for the well. And I have endless water. Knock on wood, but I don't have a generator either. So I was shopping yesterday. Dad generated his whole house, and his power was out for 5 days, and he just reached downstairs, flipped a switch, and he went back to watching Netflix. And good to go. Really good to go. It's an inconvenience. All right, let's talk about what you got right. Anthony, you're up first. What'd you get right? I've got a couple for myself, but when you look at these people that have faced horror stuff, and I'm not talking about the ones in the war zone. We're talking that's end of life stuff. But the ones that are just outside of it, they're going to go 5 months without power in the wintertime.
Yeah.
What'd you get right, Anthony?
I think I'm always really good about water. and the toilet paper and those main essentials, I guess, that people are always clamoring to the grocery stores to get. I'm always very well stocked on those things. So I would never need to rush to the grocery store or have someone supply those to me, unless, of course, my house got completely just obliterated. Like a lot of these people, you can't, that's, I think, the unfortunate stuff too. You learn is you can be as, I don't know who said this. I think someone in our community, you can be as prepared as you need to be. But if your house gets taken out with all of your ammo, all your food, all that stuff, there's not much you can do. You can only be so prepared. So I think I'm really good with like the water and those main essentials. Maybe could be a little bit better on food. But if something went really, really wrong, it's not like I need to run to the grocery store like everybody else.
That's a great question for all of y'all today. Tell us that maybe when you look at what's going on, and we're not talking about disaster in your neighborhood. We're talking about major speed bump, 5 months with no power. Still, other communities are okay. What'd you get right and what'd you get wrong? And that's a really good assessment. Jared, what did you crush?
I'm going to step outside the typical box on this one. What I was able to get right was be able to ask people for help. And using my platform, you did the same. Guns and Gear Mike did the same. We were able to help a ton of people just down the street who lost everything, their lives included. And I'm forever grateful to my audience because we were able to work magic that I never thought would be a possibility.
Yeah, you crushed it. You crushed it over the last week, and I know a lot of the folks out there are a part of this. And thank you to everybody. Everybody, if you've done anything, I had one donor. The one donor I told you yesterday in the car that I've been thinking about. I thought about him or her. I don't even know today because I don't go through the donations and look. I don't want to see it. I've got a team with the fundraiser that I'm doing. I've got a team of 3 people that are kind of overseeing it just to make sure it's right. But I don't go through and look at individuals because that gets in my brain and I'll see names, maybe names that I know. So I tune out of that. But Boss Lady hollered at me the other day and she said, we just had a donation for $7. And that one stuck in my heart because I think that in my brain, that's a calculated number. And that's somebody that's sacrificing. And, there's a story in the Bible about a widow that gives 2 pennies or 2. I think they call them mites. I don't know. But they give 2 pennies. And it's not the dollar amount. The dollar amount is not what it's about. It's about, hey, I have a little extra. I'm going to tear off half of my sandwich and give it to you. And somebody gave $7. And I think about them a lot. So you guys crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. I think for me, what I got right, there was a day, my big inconvenience, I lost power for 90 minutes and my internet was out for 5 days. Like not a big deal. Dad lives 3 miles from me. He was out for, I think, 5 days. There's still people here that aren't going to have power in the rest of this calendar year. So I went to Starbucks the day after. I know we're not supposed to have Starbucks, but it was the only place open. I needed a caffeine hit. And I stood there and Jared, I felt guilty. Not because it was Starbucks. I know. Leave us comments about that. I know I'm not supposed to get there. I crossed myself twice and said a Hail Mary and went in. People were literally dying on the river and I went and got a hot coffee. Now I got back to work, but holy smokes. I had no inconvenience, but I did do this at one point. I went down to the grocery store. You had already sent us a picture in the group, so I kind of knew what to expect. The grocery store had no internet, so therefore no credit cards, cash only. They were backed up all the way from the checkout line all the way back to the eggs, which is a long freaking way, probably an hour in line minimum. And I walked in and turned around and walked back out. And I'm good to go. I'm 1,000% good to go. And that's a good feeling. Now, speaking of hurricane and speaking of good coffee, and this is really, really important. Blackout Coffee is right in the middle. By the time y'all see this, the hurricane, thankfully, hopefully, knock on wood, will already be passed. But right in the middle, Blackout Coffee is right in the middle of the path.
Yeah, we're in the just to the right of the eye. In the strongest part of the storm is the east side of the storm, and I'm hoping and praying that our employees and my partners and our infrastructure are okay. But we'll. If you guys order from us, just know that there's a lot going on. 2 storms we're dealing with here back to back, maybe a third. So if it takes an extra day or 2 to get an order out, please, be a little forgetful.
Merciful. Yeah, absolutely. And this section of the show is brought to you by Blackout Coffee. Right there is a URL. Follow that. Use the code Liberty. You're going to save. You're going to love it. My audience has switched me over to Morning Reaper. Anthony, what you on these days?
I still do 1776. That's my go-to.
You were relentless on the 1776.
It's the one I drink.
I'm Blueberry Crumble, and my audience has smashed me over to Morning Reaper. Hey, they're in the middle of storm on the way. Let's help out an American company, and you're going to get awesome coffee on the way to your house. Have a little mercy on shipping times. Big thank you to the folks at Blackout Coffee. All right, Anthony, here's my next question. I think that somebody told me this one day. I think when we prep food, often we're getting rice and beans and rice and all sorts of dried up stuff. Somebody really challenged me about a year ago, stock what you eat. And I have been doing that. So I use some white chicken breast about once a week, cans of whole chunk white chicken breast in cans. I'm not a big fan of canned chicken, but I use it about once a week. And what I do, and that's what I actually use. So I've got stacks of it. So when I bring home a new stack from the grocery, I put it in the back and slide everything forward. Anthony, I know that, and we all do, we have big jugs of rice and dried up beans, zombie survivals food. What do you think about the idea of rather than stocking 5-gallon drums of crap we don't want to eat, let's just stock a lot more of what we actually enjoy?
Yeah, I do a lot of that. I am not a big I'm going to have a bunch of bags and barrels of rice and beans, because that also sounds miserable.
But you have some.
I have some, but it's not like the main goal of my prepping. And I think I messaged you also you guys in the group chat when all this was happening and everybody in California is freaking out going to Costco. Everybody bought all the rice and beans, but then again, like Johnny, you said, the canned chicken, the actual like good protein and those other things like macaroni that you can make with just some boiled water, which you probably would enjoy eating more, all stocked. Even the spam, like they weren't going after the spam, but they were going after just bags of rice and beans. So I do prep a lot of that stuff, also because super non-perishable. I mean, not super non-perishable, but it'll have a pretty good shelf life. A lot of those canned things, a lot of those boxed foods probably would get eaten first, but a little bit more comfort foods. So I do a lot of that. And that's just kind of my approach. But I also wanted to, I think one thing maybe the audience caught from our discussion, but maybe needs to be said a little bit more expressly. When we talk about things that I think all three of us got really, really right. And a lot of people sometimes get wrong. And this is no knock on anybody, but make sure your finances are in order, not just for your family, but when something happens, you can help others. It's a big deal to be able to donate money, or like you guys do, bought stuff for people, to take stuff to people, to help people who are in hard situations, having cash on hand. I know we talked about that in a recent podcast, having cash on hand also. So like make sure, I think that's a big thing a lot of people overlook. And I get it. The economy is hard right now. People are struggling. But if you have that in order, you can get by with a lot of things. And help others, in which, we've all been able to do that in these situations. And we're probably still going to have to do it because the government has been abysmal in helping others. So it is our job as Americans and brothers in God to help other people who are less fortunate. And that's what we're called to do. And I think all three of us are of the same mindset, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah, and I want to take a second to thank you, Anthony, for donating to help folks here in East Tennessee and Northwest North Carolina, because it came in very, very handy. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, like I said, we're all called to do that. We all are very fortunate, and it's the least we can do. I get it. My community wasn't directly impacted, but they're Americans. You guys are there. It's close to you guys. I see what you guys are doing. I mean, I called my audience to help. I hope my audience helped as well. Yeah, I think it's something that gets overlooked. And especially right now with the way our country's looking, making sure you have your finances in order is going to probably be super, super helpful going into
Don't
the future.
chase that. We're doing that next episode. We're not talking about the election yet. Next episode. Next episode. All right, Jared, popcorn. What's on your brain? I've got a couple more things, and then I'm going to pick a bone with you two. I am fed up with you two. It's coming, and I am justified, and I freaking love it, but I'm going to save it for the next segment. Jared, what's on your brain?
Man, I've been really, really positive and trying to do what we can. We've gone down a couple times to the war zone, both of us, and helped out, our buddy TJ, Bear Independent.
Tell folks about that. I don't think you can, unless you see it, I don't think you can grasp it. And here's the thought. Yeah. The big KOA campground. I told you the story yesterday. It's a big campground, the huge old house. And we used to eat dinner in there when I was a kid. And I sent Dad a picture of the house where the campground was. And he texted back. He said, well, I wonder how the campground fared. And I'm like, Dad's really bright. The idea that the campground is still there, there's nothing there.
Right.
my point is, I think unless you see it, you can't grasp the devastation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess fortunately, this isn't the first major hurricane I've been in. I worked in New Orleans for some years and got to see devastation regularly. But yeah, it's bad here. It really is. And like people say like, why didn't you guys in the mountains prepare for it? To which I say, like, how many people in Miami are ready for 3 feet of snow in a blizzard? It's just something like hurricanes don't happen.
400 miles from the coast. Why did you prepare for a hurricane?
So it caught everybody off guard. Was like in some areas was like 50 inches of rain.
It caught the weather guys off guard.
And like all of the rain that falls at the top of the mountain has to go where the bottom of the mountain and in the valleys where all these towns and villages were. And you're not seeing, I mean, you know this, we're not seeing a tenth of it on the news.
The national news is they're showing Asheville because Asheville's very dramatic down in that River Arch district in the Biltmore Village. It's very dramatic with those old buildings. And Monroe, was that the name of the town? Monroe was in Banner Elk was and Blowing Rock were kind of dramatic. There's another 400 tiny towns and communities that just don't get seen because it's not dramatic on camera.
Yeah, it's bad. It really is bad. And, you know, you're not seeing FEMA. In Tennessee, we're not seeing FEMA. And
I heard they were on the ground yesterday.
Yeah, they're hiring. I just saw this post funny when I was prepping to come here. They're hiring for armed guards now to be posted in North Carolina and Tennessee. I'm still going to say this on record. There's not a FEMA person that's going to stop me from getting goods and supplies to our fellow Americans in need. It's just not going to happen.
A country boy shall survive. And you now have your official redneck card. And you're welcome to Appalachia. I think it's been a wild, wild ride. I have been overwhelmed with the awesomeness of people. But I really thought for this episode, we could just stop and look, at some point, you got to look back at yourself and go, am I ready? Anthony, what's next in your preparation? What's next? We all know food, water, bullets, money. How about that? But is there anything that's like you've never dabbled in that you think you might need to get into? For me, it's going to be outdoor cooking, being able to cook without electricity. If my generator goes belly up, 6 months, I got 6 months of gas for my generator or propane or whatever. I'm eventually going to have to cook outside. And I want to be able to do that easy and have the right stuff and not just be like cooking over a fire on a rock. Like with a volleyball, saying Wilson, I'd like to be able to do it right. And I think that'd be really cheap to get prepared for, a few $100s. For me, it's going to be getting ready for outdoor cooking. Anthony, what you got?
I think that's a good one. I think what really stuck out in my mind was the communication aspect, especially because I know you guys are seeing it, those people up in the mountains that have no ability to get communications out to people.
Still,
so I know, I know Starlink has been big for people. So I think I'm going to invest in a Starlink just to have it. And other forms of like radio communication, because that, I mean, we're just seeing it's impacting like people who need help can't even communicate out to say like, hey, I need help, bring me water, whatever. So I think that's a big one I'm going to look into a little bit more in doing that. But, kind of going back to Jared's point, anybody who's criticizing these people like, oh, why don't you get out? Again, how are you supposed to prepare for something like this? Like, can you really prepare for your entire house and town and community just getting wiped off the map? Pretty hard to prepare for that. Unless you have like super early warning that, hey, this is going to hit you, evacuate out of the area. But even that we see doesn't necessarily happen. And these areas like Florida and others, like Jared said, get hit by these hurricanes all the time, and even they're not prepared. It's almost a yearly thing and they're not prepared. So
plus, what does that help? Like guys getting in the comment section saying, I had guys laugh. They go, ha, 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 it serves y'all right. You weren't prepared. And I'm like, oh, buddy. Mr. Rogers said,
get in the ring, pal. We'll see how prepared you are.
Get in the ring, champ. Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. When bad things hit, look for the helpers. You and I have a friend named Logan who is Logan, and he may watch this. We love you, Logan, but he's feral. He looks feral. He drives a big truck and has a big beard and has his hair all piled up in a big pile, and he wears a cowboy hat. The first time I met Logan, he was wearing mucklucks. I didn't know what they were, but the knee-high boots looked like he was headed out to trade some furs with the French. And he's a wild man. He's also an arborist. And the night it hit, it was Friday night. I was down with the guys having a Coca-Cola, and Logan was sitting there rocking, and we were watching a football game, and he was just sitting there just kind of antsy, playing on his phone, and the weather was whipping outside. It was bad. We didn't know it was this bad. Like, it was kind of bad. We had no idea. And he goes, I got to go. I got to go. And I said, what? He goes, I'm going to gas up my chainsaws and start sharpening blades. He goes, he said, I got stuff to do tomorrow. He's been out there every day since. And my point is, look for the helpers.
Yeah. I mean, what's unfortunately been proven true is, there is unfortunately a part of society that depends on the government to save them. And what we're witnessing right now in our own, friends and neighborhoods is there is no government coming to save you. It's only us. We are saving each other. It's Americans helping Americans. And that's the way it's always been. We've just drifted away from that. And hopefully this is waking a lot of people up, because FEMA doesn't have money for what it was intended for. They spend it all on the illegals. They're giving your money away to people coming into the country illegally who want to hurt you, and they're not doing what they should be.
We're not chasing the election, Anthony. We're not doing it. He's getting twitchy out there.
Hey, I was thinking the 158 million or whatever to Lebanon. I mean,
we're not chasing it, people.
Yeah.
Tell folks about what we saw yesterday day before yesterday with that giant Volvo track hoe that was out on a county road.
What was a county road? Yeah. It's so we were going to Old Germany Road. It's a section of Irwin that was totally cut off. There's not a road left. The only way they can get stuff in or out was by helicopter, or this one narrow path in the shale rock that we hiked in. There was 8 of us that hiked stuff in to a family that was in need of some stuff.
7. I hiked literally nothing. I got my carcass down that road. I did nothing. I had a viewer hit me and they go, Johnny, why didn't you carry stuff? I'm like, I did pretty good just getting there. I carried myself. I did nothing.
Yeah, it's but it was good to see, man. And the local people, somebody had just happened to have a front end loader, and they were out there digging away, trying to rebuild stuff. So
county road, a citizen.
Road. Yeah. County wasn't there.
County wasn't there. Private citizens
there. State wasn't there. Private citizens trying to rebuild what was taken down and hopefully get a road to these people so they can get in and out and, hopefully survive. There was 60 in this community, and sadly we're down to 40.
It was awful. And the cliff where he was digging out, when by the time we got back from making the deliveries that y'all made and I watched, he had to lift the bucket, because that clip, he had cleaned that whole thing out. He had to lift the bucket up, and we had to literally get in the bucket, and he had to lower us down. And I was like, that was awesome. Were you nervous at all riding in that bucket?
No, dude. I've seen it done on like Gold Rush. You see that stuff,
but you weren't nervous at all.
No, I thought it was pretty cool.
When it started, you could see my face on the video. I was like, ooh. All right, Anthony, have you ever been right? Like, does something ever happen, and all of a sudden you realize you're right, and it just feels good? Does vindication? How good does vindication feel?
Should we ask his wife first?
Don't ask his pregnant wife anything at this point.
Yeah.
Does it feel good to be right, Anthony? Does it feel good?
My wife says I'm always right. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So some weeks ago, I would say months ago at this point, we were talking about prepping and being prepared. And you two, I don't know if the right word is buttholes, but somewhere close in there, didn't like one of my answers. We brought in all the stuff. Y'all know what we're talking about. We brought in everything. We brought in 5 things to be prepared. And mine was, what was it, Anthony?
Knitted cap, shoes. What was it? I don't remember.
He's not playing along, ladies and gentlemen. It's a can opener, and they gave me HE double hockey sticks about it. I shish you not. Holy smokes. I was in a preparation meeting the other day, and we're all sitting around talking. There's guys with clipboards, and there's guys with like walkie-talkies, and there's me, and with my coffee. Hey, guys, wear safety equipment. And all of a sudden, one of them looks around, and they said, Johnny, can you get us some can openers? And I went, can you get us some can openers? I'm tired of the can opener jokes. And he goes, what? I said, the Liberty Lounge, the can openers. He goes, what the frick is the Liberty Lounge? And I went, are you serious? He goes, dude, here's the deal. Suck it, you two, by the way. I love this. This is the best day of my life. Suck it, both of you. He goes, listen, Johnny. He goes, all the donations are rolling in. We got diapers in bags. We got this. We got that. We got water in, but everything else is in cans. And guess what? Everybody has electric can openers, and there's no power. He said, our community is dying for crank handled can openers. Jared, suck it.
All the donations I did that were can, I bought Pop Tops.
Huh.
Wah, wah, wah.
I just thought it was so much fun that's one of the specific things they asked for. It's been interesting in that the delivery. What was the funniest thing about that delivery that those guys made the other day?
Oh, the person we made it to, he was a New Yorker who had moved to Tennessee a long time ago. And some of the things he said was so New Yorky.
Like, very New York.
Very New Yorky.
Living out in Appalachia sticks. But they brought him cat litter. And they had a litter of kittens. And I had some people hit me and they go, just turn the cats loose. I'm like, they've lost everything. How about let this 50-year-old lady keep her cat? And she just asked, hey, do y'all have any cat litter? And one of the guys said, heck yeah, we got like tons of it back there at that same depot we were at, the forward operating base. They have horse feed. They have cow feed. They had 5 or 6 other things just for all the farm animals and stuff, in addition to all the other stuff. So it's pretty wild. So can openers back on the menu, boys.
You know what? I want to point something out, Johnny, because I watched some of your videos and we talked. I think one thing that's overlooked that I think really opened my eyes by watching what you guys were doing is morale stuff. Because Johnny, you were giving a lot of morale stuff, and you guys have done a lot of morale stuff for the guys. How important that really is when things are pretty bad. Like sometimes just having your little zebra cake can like make you really happy, or some smokes or some drinks or something. Like that really goes a long way. So I think that was really cool. And again, kind of just shine some light on the situation. From seeing what you guys were doing.
Yeah, you got to take care of the people who are taking care of others. Whether it's zebra cakes, if they want zebra cakes, you buy all the zebra cakes.
How many zebra cakes did your wife buy?
It was like 29 boxes.
All that was a whole truck, a whole car.
That was just for Jared. That was just for Jared.
It's funny. They went and got all these zebra cakes, and the back seat was just mounded over with the zebra cake packages. And then there was, when I jumped up front and got shotgun, there was one box that was half eaten that was just sitting there wide open. I'm like, oh, that's for the kids, y'all.
Yeah.
But the morale thing was a big surprise to me. The organization you and I've been working with, Grindstone Ministries, they hollered and said to both of us, we need morale stuff for the workers. This was on Friday, and it's a week after the tragedy, and they said our guys are whipped. And I said, what do you need? He said, can we get alcohol? Can we get tobacco? And can we get caffeine? I'm like, holy crap. That is like my 3 specialties. So we went and got boxes of cigars for the guys. You got all sorts of stuff. I got just Coors Light and caffeine. And here's the thing. I thought my audience, when I showed all that, and Anthony, you saw that video, when I showed, like, they asked for some boxes of cigarettes. And I donated money and bought cigarettes and Red Bull. And I was braced that people were going to just blast me. People went nuts. All the military guys were like, fudge, man. This is what the Afghan war and the Iraq war, we fought for freedom, powered by cigarettes and Red Bull. Anthony, were you surprised at that these working guys just needed some caffeine on their day off and some beer?
No, it didn't surprise me. It just really like illuminated my mind that when we do the whole prepping stuff, it's always so like serious, like, oh, our rice and beans. But you forget that having some treats, having cigarettes if you need cigarettes, having some drinks, some cigars goes a long way. So it didn't surprise me. It's just one of those things that you don't think about until a situation like that happens. And, those people are working all day and night trying to help other people. And they're like, hey, on our day off, we want to have a little fun. Remember why we're doing this, celebrating being in America, smoking some cigars, drinking some beers or sodas or whatever. So, yeah.
When all this hit and I was assessing my problems, I realized I've got a rifle that I've never put all the way together, and I've never finished it. And I headed to Brownells and got it finished. And I was kind of excited because this section is brought to you by our friends at Brownells out in Grinnell, Iowa. Woo! But I jumped over there and it took me 17 seconds, and they had the exact charging handle. I got that Radian charging handle from them, and it came in the mail instantly. Great price, great customer service. Jared, when you shop, why do you go to Brownells?
Mainly because I know the people there like you do. I trust them. I value their friendship. They are Americans through and through. Pete Brownell is a solid dude. I just spent a couple days with him over in Georgia, in Livonia. And they typically have what they have on the website. It tells you if it's in stock or not. And when you're shopping for stuff, we can all name times when we wanted to buy something, and it was, as soon as you pay for it, it's then back ordered.
Yeah, it's super easy. And that part of it wasn't a commercial. That's really my story. Last week I was building a gun out in not a panic, but in let's get this done and get another rifle ready to rock and roll. I went straight to Brownells. Big thank you to the folks at Brownells out in Grinnell, Iowa. We love you guys. Thanks for sponsoring the Liberty Lounge. All right, up next, I want to talk about the next steps for us, and I think it's really good. Like Anthony's last point was, sometimes you need a little Debbie, because if we've learned anything over our lifetimes, I think for me, I look at Eastern Europe because they have a revolution, and then this, and then, and there's other places in the world that have revolutions and wars, but Eastern Europe, I mean, it's just they have these things and these speed bumps. I saw a village one time that was out of power for a year. And it was really interesting. The guys tore the cars apart and they made generators out of all of the motors and they made do. And that's for me, I'm looking at speed bumps, not wash your entire trailer away and lose everything you own and three of your family members, but just kind of medium level inconveniences. We're not doing it, Anthony. We're not talking about the election. However, if things go the way they might go, there could be some trouble coming. I want us to think about now about not food, not water, not this, not that, but how about the things that are really, really important that we have to have? They're bringing with drones in. They were bringing in insulin to people. I saw baby formula on a drone. They had a forestry drone. It was a drone made for forest workers, and they brought in baby formula. I want to ask everybody, what in your life do you actually need? For me personally, I stock way ahead about a year and a half of contacts so I don't have to switch over to my giant goggle glasses. A year and a half. So for me, that's really, really important. I have one medicine that I'm on I think it's 70 cents a month. I stay about 2 months ahead on that. I can survive without it. Jared, what about you? What you got going on? We're not talking about food and water, and we're not talking about beer and cigarettes, but what does your household actually need? Because this is stuff that never gets talked about.
Yeah. I'm blessed where personally there's nothing I need to, like, I'm not on a medication that I have to take.
Machine.
No, but like my kids do. So trying to get enough of theirs. And of course it's regulated, so you can only get a month at a time, but I'm trying to do the 3-month burst and trying to see if they'll let us do that. But excuse me. Living away from my core family, connectivity is huge for me. And when we still see areas we go daily now that there's no 911 system, there's nothing. They're running on Starlink and ham radio. So I struck and bought a Starlink Mini, just so God forbid something happens again.
I wasn't familiar with it. You said it's like 3 pounds?
It's 2.4 pounds, the Mini. And it's about 14 by 20, and you can throw it in a backpack. You plug it in, throw it a clear view of the sky, and you have internet. You have connectivity.
You have internet, and you can check your email and do all that stuff.
Send texts, let people know you're okay.
I know nothing about it. Do you have to have a monthly subscription?
Yeah, so they do have a couple different options depending on the Starlink you buy. I pay upfront for a month of unlimited because my goal is when it does come in next week, I'm thinking about getting together with you, and maybe we go to a place and spend an hour or two and let the people who have nothing, give them an opportunity to get online and talk to their family. It's a way that we can help with the minimum out of our pocket. I already bought the thing. It's coming. So maybe we can help out that way. It doesn't even exist out here.
That sounds awesome. Anthony, we're not talking about food and water or beer and cigars. What do you need for your household to run? And I think this is a question that just doesn't get asked very often, because there are things that people have to have. I think for my dad, he's got an awesome dog. Dad lives alone. He's 77. He needs to store up a couple 100 pounds of dog food. Yeah. Yes, the dog would be fine. The dog can go hunt. We got it, Ethel. Like somebody's going to say, well, let the dog hunt. He's a wolf. Well, it'd be a lot nicer for my 77-year-old dad to have a companion and just have things be easier just with one little plastic tub of a couple 100 pounds of dog food. Anthony, where are you at with you and your wife and your soon-to-be child?
Yeah, like Jared, I'm lucky that we're not relying on any medicines or anything like that. I wear glasses, but I could survive without them. I think the biggest wake-up call is with the new kid coming. I'm not that blind.
How nervous are you about this kid? I know as dads, we're all nervous with the first one, but as far as speed bumps and end of the world Armageddon stuff, you got a lot more responsibility, brother.
Yeah, I wouldn't say nervous for the kid herself, but I think with how interesting things are right now, I think that's kind of a wake-up call with like, okay, now it's less about just making sure we have food and all that stuff, but like, do we have enough diapers and baby formula just in case we have it? So like I have to transition into those things, which we traditionally did not have to prepare just because we didn't have a kid. So I think that's a big thing, a big hole that we're going to try to fill right now before the election, just to make sure we're settled. And you can't really prepare because we also don't know what the kid is really going to want or need, or so. But that's going to be a big transition. Yeah. As far as how scared I am, I mean, I don't know. Ask me any other day, and it ebbs and flows.
It's a lot. It's a lot to all of a sudden go, I'm in charge of another human. Like, I can't be
Yeah.
trusted with a bag of Oreos and not eat them. And then now I've got to be in
Yeah.
charge of other humans. But I've been there, Anthony. You're going to be fine. The last one for me is that I just read on forums and read other people's. I've never had an original thought in my life. And so I just take other people's data, and somebody said, dude, get vitamin C. Because if you're eating starches and eating beans, your teeth are going to fall out from a thing called scurvy. That's a real thing, not just with the scurvy.
Anti-diuretics too. They're huge.
Yeah.
Anti-diuretics. Why?
Yeah.
Because if you happen to drink river water or, whatever, then you're probably going to get diarrhea and you will dehydrate and you can die if it doesn't get fixed relatively soon.
If we've learned anything from the Oregon Trail, is that dysentery will kill you.
You have died of dysentery crossing the Kansas River. And then I've stocked up a lot of just ibuprofen and some aspirin. I've just got some big jugs, and we're not talking about end of the world. We're talking about 90-day speed humps like they have in little civil wars in Eastern Europe when the Russians do whatever they do, and trying to get through 6 months without power, or 6 months without mail, and not being able. How about this? 6 months without Amazon. And so I think through the stuff that I actually use on a daily basis. I've got an extra 3-pack of toothbrushes, an extra, because cleanliness is important. One of the things in the forums that I read that says that one of the most important things is soap, because, and you cannot, we talked about this in the prepping episode, you cannot stock up enough soap. And so I keep a lot of hand soap, and that stuff you can clean yourself and clean out just small stuff. I've got bacterial stuff, and I've just got every little thing I can think of for essentially camping out in your living room for about 6 months, and try to think through all of that stuff, taking care of our teeth. And it was interesting for me in this Grindstone Ministries, the guys we've been working on, we went down there and they're all in their combat boots, and they've got reflective vests on, and they've got comms that are screeching, and they're talking in code 10-4, brother, and all of that. And then in the middle of that, they go, because I think they're on go mode in an Afghanistan mission. And they're like, can we get some Little Debbies?
Yeah.
Life's going to go on. And if life's going to go on, we're going to need basic stuff. I live by myself, but I don't know about my neighbors. So I just have a lot of maxi pads. And I just thought that was one thing I threw in there. I saw it on lists so many times. That's really, really important. Jared, final thought. What is these last week and a half, almost 2 weeks? Where are you at? And on 10,000 foot view, where are you at? What's it making you think of? What is the sobering part of it?
Spirit of America, the core of America is still there, and it's stronger than ever. We need to get away from being so divided because the TV tells us. Because when the shit hits the fan, it's an American helping an American that's going to make us go forward. It's not a multi-letter agency or anything. Like, our taxes don't even come to us anymore. The spirit is still there. It's strong. And unfortunately, it takes things like this for us to remember.
Anthony, where are you at? What have you seen? You have been a long way away, but you've been in the middle of it too, raising monies and raising awareness. And you've been very much in the middle of helping out Appalachia. How has this sobered you?
I think, again, just to reiterate what Jared said, I was so encouraged by the communities and to see Americans helping Americans and not relying on the government, because the government is very much in some ways also hindering and preventing help. Some people don't like us saying that, but it's the truth. We've seen it happen, a lot in the area. But that's been encouraging, especially with how much rhetoric and stuff that's going on right now, leading up to the election, all the other stuff going on. When something like this happens and you see people are still good people, not everybody's your enemy. There are good people out there. There are communities out there. We have to rely on each other. And again, that spirit of America, like Jared said, is still very much there. We need to get back to that. We need to remember that. And sometimes it just takes, unfortunately, situations like this to sober us and remember, we're fighting with ourselves a lot of the time, and it's ridiculous. So, I think that's been a big thing. What about you, Johnny? Because you guys have been really in it.
I hate even saying that, Anthony, to be honest. I'm gonna be real honest. I mean, you and I live very comfortable lives, and we drove in a very nice, comfortable car with the air conditioning on down there 2 days ago. And we saw some horrific stuff, and people are like are hollering at me saying, Johnny, you're right in the middle of it. Am I though, really? Like we are so blessed here in Johnson City. I will say this: Johnson City was completely spared, almost 100%. But I think because of that, and because we had our power on, we were able to mobilize and go do stuff. My dad told me this, Anthony. He said, because I told Dad, I was like, dude, I'm a fat, bald man eating Little Debbie's with Jared, rolling down the road and going, I'm helping. But Dad goes, Dad's wise. And he said, Johnny, it's a puzzle. You got to be a puzzle piece and figure out where your piece fits. And that was when I told Mr. Gunzinger that the other day on the phone, that I just felt like worthless. And he's like, dude, you got a microphone and that's raising money. And I think for me, Anthony, it's been very humbling to see the power of a microphone and to see what we can do. Logan, the feral chainsaw guy, he took off on Friday night, but I think we're going to keep him running all month. I think we're going to keep that chainsaw. So we're supporting the chainsaw crew. And so for me, it's been just humbling watching story after story. This is not a commercial. The Liberty Lounge is under the same roof. It's in the next unit over from TriStar Trading, the t-shirt company. And you stopped by last week and said, you texted me and you said, hey, do y'all still have those Whoopee blankets? Yeah, we got Whoopee blankets. You go, how many do we have? Hang on. We have 156 in stock. And I know you don't want me telling the story. I'm gonna tell it anyway. And this is payback for the can opener. And how many of you guys said 156? And you said, I'll take them. Mm-hmm. Because we're preparing for winter. It was chilly this morning already. Holy crap, 48 degrees or 42 degrees. And you came down here, you filled your truck up and you took them to the mountain. And so, Anthony, to answer your question, it's been 1,000 things like that. Seeing your buddy come down and just go, I'll take all the blankets, and they're gone and they're out of stock and they're in the hands where they need to be. So to both of you guys, thank you. To all the audience, thank you. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and it's a long way from over. Our hearts are thinking by the time this is out, we're hoping that Blackout Coffee is good to go, but we're with you. We're behind you. And if they're going to need help and y'all are going to need help in the days ahead, we are here. To everybody out there, thanks for finding us. However you did, this is a good day to say USA. Holy smokes, a lot of good going on. I'm Johnny B. This is Jared. That's Anthony. We're the Liberty Lounge, and we'll see you soon.